Hi there, folks. It's Jonathan Denwood here from WP-Tonic. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what are some of the best security plugins for your WordPress website in 2025. It's an important subject. It's nothing worse than getting your website hacked. But I've got some great advice here. At WP Tonic, we help a load of people with their hosting needs around membership and community. I'll be back in a few moments, folks. Coming back, folks. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the best security plugins. But before I go into what are some of the best choices, there's some basic things that you need to understand because it doesn't really matter what security plugin you choose. If you don't do the basics, that the basic acts of making your website secure, a security WordPress plugin isn't going to help you out. Um, so, what are these basic things that you need to understand? Well, number one, you need a reasonable host. A lot of the work that a security plugin is now done by the hosting providers to some degree, but there's a balance, and it really does also depend if you're taking money in some form or another on your website. If that's the case through membership, e-commerce, donations, the need to put an extra layer of security on is probably worth the effort. And going with really cheap hosting does affect about how much you get from the host compared to a more better quality hosting provider. But these are quite broad statements. But the basic things is that you've got to keep your plugins up to date. Um, I would not put plugins on automatic updating because that can have consequences. But updating your plugins once a week will, unless there's a security um, alert from the core of WordPress or from a particular plugin. Normally, if you keep the plugins up to date once a week, you're going to avoid a lot of the troubles that a lot of people can have. And a lot of it is caused by running or not updating the plugins for quite a period of time. That also affects the core of WordPress. Keeping the core of your WordPress up to date will enable you to avoid a lot of the problems that people have, right? The other thing, um, having a strong password. It's it's something, especially on admin accounts. Now, people say that the username should not be admin. I think that's a great idea, but I don't think it's on the top of the list. But having a very strong password, and I think you should use a password generator. Um, there's the Bitwarden is a great resource. It's a bit of software that runs on the Mac, PC, on all sorts of operating systems. And for personal use, Bitwarden is free. It's open source and it will generate passwords. And you must have a strong password which you don't use for other purposes. When you've got an admin account and you're controlling your website, it is the number one. And having a password that's a mixture of symbols, letters, and numbers, which practically would be impossible for you to memorize, is a great way of keeping your website secure. Also, not having everybody that's doing work on your website having admin. Do not share your admin account with other people that need admin access. If they do need that level of access, give them, set up a separate admin account and give them a separate username and password. And if they no longer need that access, you can lower them down to editor or you can remove them from the website. But do not share your own admin account with other people that are having to do administration or doing various things in the backside of your website. That's another big tip. Um, Linked to that, really think, does this person that's doing something, do they really need an admin account? It's not a great idea giving everybody who might be doing work on your website admin access. If they're doing development, they probably will give them a separate admin account. If they're not, if they're just updating content and they just need access to a page or a post and the media library, they can do all that by having a editor account. So don't give them admin access. This really will help you. Another thing, if if there's a plugin installed and you're no longer really using it, it's best to deactivate it, give it a few weeks, and then make a final decision. I really ain't using this plugin, and then remove it. Having a load of plugins on your website, um, if you're keeping them updated and they come from reasonably good sources, you're probably not going to have a problem. But the more plugins from various different sources you have on your website, it will increase the vector chances of your website being compromised. So it's best to keep the plugins down to the ones that you really need and are using. Um, that doesn't mean that you've got to be scared about installing a pub plugin. It's just about having a common sense attitude around this, folks. Um, the the other factor is that anybody, and we encourage this at WP-Tonic, is to set up a free Cloudflare account. It's totally free, and by setting it up, and then we do this for our hosting clients, is that we, wherever you have your domain part, there's something called DNS, domain name settings service, and you need to transfer these DNS records to Cloudflare. And by doing that, Cloudflare are then a free firewall. And Cloudflare has some of the best firewall software out there, and they offer it for free. And you can buy a pro account with them, but it's not really necessary, in my opinion. It There are circumstances where, like again, if you're taking money or e-commerce, blah, 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 it probably might be. There are some hosting providers that do provide enterprise, but it's not really, because it depends on what other software services the provider's also providing, the hosting provider. But the free account, I cannot. The other great thing of setting out Cloudflare and their free account is it will greatly reduce DOS accounts. These are denial of service attacks on server networks. It's fantastic at reducing it, and reducing automatic bulk attacks on your website, because the bulk of the attacks to your website are not human generated. They are generated by automized bolts. Now, hopefully you're finding this useful, the information. If you are, I've got a link in the video description that goes that's a link to an article that I've written that goes into all this in a lot more detail and provides all the links and prices to the plugins that I'm just about to mention. Also, if you're finding this useful, think about subscribing to the channel. That really shows YouTube that I'm doing something right and it encourages me to make more of these videos. So let's look at some of the plugins. Now, at WP-Tonic, like I say, we encourage people to set up and we help them set up a Cloudflare. And then we use a plugin called malware, which is also linked to another plugin called Blog Vault. Now, one thing I haven't talked about is having regular backups. We have a kind of three layer vector of backup, and malware and Blog Vault is part of our backup system. But if you just buy malware, it comes with a really great firewall, which works really well with increasing the level of protection you would get, even if if you have set up a Cloudflare account, they work really well. It's around 150. They have different plans, but they start off with $150. I think they're really good. They're really great. We've got their highest level of plan, and because we're a hosting provider. Another problem is Shuni. They've been around years. They're a little bit more expensive. Um, with our level of malware, if the site does get infected, we can go to them as a partner, and they will help us clean any kind of malware that's infected on the website. This is extremely rare with us because we update all the plugins for our customers. And I said to you at the beginning of this video, it's one of the main reasons why people do have problems with their websites when it comes to security. Another one is a more one, well, let's leave it like that. There's a couple others. There's one called WordFence. Of the ones that I've listed in the article, it's one of the ones that I'm not that keen on. And it's mainly to do with their free product, their free plugin, because it's free. The firewall they provide uses the resources of the hosting provider, and it can really slow your website down. Because at WP-Tonic, we're providing malware with Flare, with Cloudflare. We don't have that problem. But a lot of people that are looking for a free solution, they go to WordFence, they install it. They haven't got very good hosting at the beginning, and this causes a resource problem, and it really can slow your website down. Now, when it comes to the paid versions, um, they're a bit expensive, folks. There is better solutions out there. Like I say, they're listed in the article that's got the link in the video description. I'm going to leave it at this. I just wanted to give you a quick introduction of the main things you've got to understand. And like I say, if you follow what I've outlined in this, you're really not going to have any problems. I'll see you soon, folks. Bye.